The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Jess De Los Santos. Hundreds of families were affected by a flash flood in Davao last night. Now, to give us the latest updates on the ground, we have Jem Avancenia joining us live from Panabo, Davao del Norte. Jem, what's the latest there?
Just due to heavy rains last night, some areas here in Davao region experienced flash floods. In Santo Tomas here in Davao del Norte, 5 barangays in low-lying areas were submerged in flood waters last night. Residents said it was 8 in the evening when flood water started to rise, reaching shoulder level. Residents are just thankful that the rain already dropped before the nearby river overflowed, which would have worsened the flooding in their barangays. Mayor Ernesto Evangelista said the areas were prone to flooding and explained that they are still developing the drainage system in the area. More than 200 families were affected by the flooding. This morning, the local government distributed relief assistance to the victims. In Mati City, Davao Oriental, 2 houses in Barangay Macambol were destroyed due to the flash floods. Affected families were immediately evacuated and received assistance from the LGU. Meanwhile, the Tagum-Maragusan Road in Davao de Oro was closed until 6 a.m. this morning due to a mud flow last night. Just according to Pagasa, the heavy rains that experienced last night here in Davao region was due to a local thunderstorm. Authorities reminded the public, especially those who were living in flood-prone areas, to always take precautionary measures. Jess?
Thank you for those updates and ingat kayo dyan. That was Jem Avancenia reporting live from Davao del Norte. The PNP has suspended face-to-face media interviews and press conferences as more members of the PNP tested positive for the coronavirus. The PNP reported that 166 police personnel contracted the virus on Friday, bringing the total active cases in the PNP to more than 2,500. PNP Deputy Chief for Administration Guillermo Eliazar said that 74 of the new cases were from Metro Manila. That brings total cases among police in the Metro to over 700 or nearly 31%. At least 16,700 police personnel have been infected with COVID-19 since last year. A lawmaker slammed AFP General Edgardo Arevalos' stance on journalists covering the West Philippine Sea. Bayan Muna Representative Ferdinand Gaites said the AFP should be the first to apprise the Filipino people on events unfolding in the Philippine territory. He also criticized General Arevalos' statement calling on the media to exercise prudence in covering Chinese incursions in the West Philippine Sea. Gaites lambasted the national government and the AFP for their, quote, failure to protect and uphold Filipinos' rights over the territory. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Jess De Los Santos. While the pandemic rages on, the disparity between the vaccination levels of wealthy and that of less wealthy countries is becoming more apparent. How does this inequality affect the world at large? Let's watch this Bloomberg Quick Take.
that we are all connected, right? And when we think about the scale at which global travel was occurring before the pandemic and how eager some countries are to get back to that, if we have countries where they do not have access to vaccination, we are not going to all be protected until everyone has access to that vaccine. So this has major implications for how this pandemic will continue to evolve. And as the U.S. continues to vaccinate, it should also be noted, I think one part of the numbers that maybe was missing is this idea that 31 million people in the U.S. have been infected, and the second country with the largest number of individuals infected is 13 million in Brazil. So there has been a disproportionate number of cases in the United States, and once that fire gets put out, right, we will see other places in the world too where things continue to balloon. And if they don't have access to vaccine, how are we going to help stamp that fire out?
So the economic element, the health element is certainly a huge part of this, right? The fact that the nations where they don't have access to vaccines the same rate that wealthier nations do continue to face the economic consequences and, of course, the devastating health consequences of this. But there's also the part that you mentioned where we're all connected, Professor Althoff. And I wonder about the way that variations, mutations can occur to the virus as it continues to go sort of really like unattacked and just run its natural course in areas of the world that aren't vaccinated, and to what extent some sort of new mutation could arise that could make the vaccines that we have developed less effective.
That's right. I mean, that is a concern, and this is why the continued surveillance of the different variants is so key, not just in any one country, but globally. And as we've said before, you know, replication is the opportunity for mutation, right? For those different mutations that can create variants to which, you know, a vaccine may not be as protective. We have not seen that yet. We are still operating with very high quality vaccines that are giving us some broad coverage. But just as you point out, if we have places in the world where the COVID virus is replicating quickly and burning through populations, those are the places where we could potentially see new variants from mutations.
It's a yes from MVP. SBP Chairman Emeritus Manny Pangilinan is in favor of staging an exhibition game between PBA Stars and China. That's going to kick off the league's 46th season. In response to PBA Chairman Ricky Vargas's suggestion to conduct a friendly match with China, Pangilinan said it might be a bit of an oxymoron these days. But if it would help break the ice, Pangilinan says, let's go PBA. Vargas proposed a race-to-4 exhibition between the best players in the league and China in an effort to nudge the country back to normalcy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again later at 2:15 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News Live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News.